Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guests, with host Christina Nitchman.
Savvy Central Radio is proud to present a live interactive series featuring a new mix to business networking and interviews. Our first event will take place Saturday, April 18th from 12 noon to 3 p.m. You'll not want to miss our first guest, Bryn Johnson. Our interview question portion of the event will be concluded by a business networking gathering of light fare and cocktails, where you'll be able to meet new and exciting like-minded business owners like yourself. To find out more, book your free ticket today at bit.ly/savvyevent. That's bit.ly/savvyevent. Our guest today is Lesley Ann Friedland, the founder of non-for-profit organization FamilyKind, offering education and support services to adults and children experiencing separation or divorce. FamilyKind teams up with mental health experts, lawyers, mediators, and parent coordinators who are licensed professionals with decades of experience. Lesley comes from a background as a family law attorney and mediator dedicated to public service. Today, Lesley shares some of the unique services that FamilyKind offers and her expertise on divorce and separation. To find out more about FamilyKind, visit FamilyKind.org. Hi, Lesley. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you?
Just fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited that we're able to connect today. Your company is FamilyKind, doing amazing things out there, helping families and children going through separation and divorce. So I'm excited to have you share your journey and what led to your work as a family law attorney, mediator, and founding FamilyKind. How did that all come about for you?
Okay, well, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. It's been great meeting you, and I appreciate the opportunity to kind of get the word out about the need for people to get help when they're going through separation and divorce. That's correct. I am a lawyer by training, and I did work in the New York State Family Court for about 25 years. During those years, I worked in all the boroughs, basically as an assistant to a judge and then as a referee, actually hearing family court cases. I found it very rewarding, but during the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009, many of the supportive services that family court offered to the people there were cut out. Parent education classes, mediation services, and it made it difficult for the families. And I found it difficult also because I had so little to offer people to help them through the situation. Courts can only go so far in what they can do to help families transitioning. So at that point, when these services were cut out, I didn't really have the same job satisfaction. So I reached out to different people with whom I had worked over the years, mental health providers, lawyers, and mediators, and asked if they wanted to join me in forming a non-for-profit to help get these supportive services out to people. They all said, yes, let's do it, because they also felt at a loss when people couldn't get the help that they needed. So 2012, I left the family court and founded FamilyKind.
Wow, that is awesome. Tell the listeners listening in, because there might be some going through right now, either separation or divorce or something of the kind. What are some of the programs that FamilyKind offers, and how do you help families through divorce and separation?
We offer several programs. We want to be seen sort of as a one-stop supportive service for people transitioning through separation. So we offer something called the New York State Certified Parent Education Program. And this is a one-time 4-hour program that we offer that really helps people understand what their options are as they proceed. Sometimes because of our society and the signals we get, people think, well, I need to rush and get a lawyer that charges me $500 an hour. Well, that's an option, but there are several other options as well. So we kind of really go through the options. But the thrust of the program is really having parents focus on what's most important to them, and that's their children. So we help them understand what their children may be going through during this transition and how they can be most helpful. Our course is taught live by a lawyer and a mental health professional, even though we're not giving legal advice or therapy. We're providing a group atmosphere for people to really understand and feel support as they're going through this. Not only support from the facilitators, but from the other adults and parents in the room. In addition to those parent education classes, we also offer mediation services, parent coordination services, step-family workshops, workshops for people in the LGBTQ community. Everything we offer is offered on a sliding fee scale because we really do believe people should be able to have access to high-quality services despite their ability to pay.
I love all the services you're mentioning because my parents went through divorce, and like many, they thought the only option was hiring a high-priced attorney. And we had another guest earlier in the month that talked about the stress that goes into the idea of the money that's going to go into the divorce and how that affects both parties, meaning husband and wife, and how they relate to it. And so it's awesome to know that you educate people to let them know that that is not the only option. You have a lot of support out there from mediators like our good friend Jennifer and other people that will help you through the whole divorce process and post-divorce, which I just heard you mention that afterward, when the stepchildren and stepfamilies come into play, there's another aspect of getting through that with your family.
Yes, those are great points you make. That's exactly true. And when we're growing up, we don't get much of an education about what's going to happen if we get a divorce. We think about who we're going to partner with, maybe what jobs we might have. But when a divorce happens, you're kind of thrust into this world without tools. So what your parents went through, we just want to see the new generation kind of helped and supported. But yes, it is so true. Divorce and separation is really just the beginning, because once you have kids with another parent, you are linked forever. And it's really important that you establish good communication habits as you go on with your life as a parent to help your child kind of feel comforted and supported through all the different stages that they're going to be going through.
And I'm sure through all of your experiences as an attorney, as well as working in FamilyKind, that you've seen both sides of the story, where you've seen families handle it very well and in some cases not so well. What are some of the lessons you've learned that you could pass on to our audience of anyone contemplating going through divorce right now?
Right. It is such a difficult time. And I guess if possible, if people could just kind of take a deep breath and really, before they make any rash decisions about things that they might do, I would think it would be great to get educated, see what their options are, and really think about their kids, and say, hey, okay, what's going to be happening now in their lives? How can we make it as smooth as possible? And how can we go about working together to make sure that their future is really going to be as smooth as possible? Because the reason for divorcing and separation is really an adult kind of decision, and it should be handled by the adults in as best a way as possible, and leave the kids to be able to be kids and handle all the challenges that they have without having to worry about their parents. Yeah, I would say, first of all, reach inside and then reach out for services and information to help you through.
Yeah, that is absolutely great point. I like that you mentioned keeping the kids separate from all the stuff going on with the divorce, because I've witnessed with a number of my friends going through divorce that often the parents will bring the kids in and say, well, what do you think about daddy doing this or mommy this or that? And it really puts kids in a really difficult position. It's really not even fair because kids will make up their own mind regardless of what's going on, whether it's an abusive background or household or not. But putting them in the middle to make a choice or take a side is just really, really hard on the children.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Christina. Parents are human beings too. So sometimes we don't act in the way that's best. We have anger, guilt, anxiety, depression, everything. And it's often compounded since every aspect of your life is basically affected when you go through this. So maybe you might not do the things that you feel are best, ask your kids certain questions or say, oh yeah, sure, go with your father or go with your mother, but you're not really giving them permission to do it.
Yeah.
So these are really, really hard issues. And that's basically what FamilyKind is about, helping the parents and kids directly. We have classes for kids as well. Just really try to understand that it's not the kid's fault and really they need to be protected from the conflict. And even if one parent behaves in a way that they can be proud of, that goes a long way for a child. So some parents might feel frustrated and say, well, even if I conduct myself in a way that I feel is appropriate, the other parent, they're just terrible. Well, you know what? In life, the only things that we can really control, and it's not even so easy to control this, but is our own behavior, right?
Absolutely.
So if we can sort of give that to ourselves and say, well, I really can't control how another person acts, but I can behave the way I want to. And also I can model that behavior for my child. And as you said, Christina, the child eventually will know the right thing to do and will be greatly supported if you behave in that kind of way.
Yeah. And for anyone out there who had gone through divorce or is going through divorce, if you slip up, just get back on the train. If you were really frustrated and said something about your ex that wasn't nice, just, let it go and just, you can make a different choice tomorrow and call FamilyKind today so you can get some help and get the necessary tools you need to work through it in a positive way. Because it is possible to get through divorce and have a positive experience as possible.
Exactly. And I love that point. You know what? Don't beat yourself up. We all are human. Just do the best you can. Sometimes we say and do things we're not proud of. Okay. So then you work that out within yourself. You work that out with your child. But get help. You're not alone in this. We, and I'm sure other organizations, offer supportive services. In addition to the classes I mentioned and the other services, we also provide a meetup. And that is an informal way for people to get together and just to support one another, maybe give tips or strategies to each other to help them through.
And that's the next question I was going to ask you. What would be your tips or some tips you could offer families going through divorce or separation with regards to their children at this moment?
Right. Each family is really individual. So sometimes people might want to tell their child a little sooner or a little later. Often it's a good practice for both parents to speak to the children together and be on the same page. Sometimes there's issues of violence where it isn't appropriate to work together in a cooperative way, but you might need to work in a parallel way, meaning always, keeping yourself safe, the parent safe, while offering some consistency for the children. So there'll be different things for everybody, but one tip would be, make sure you're healthy as a parent, because there's the example we sometimes use where when you're in an airplane and there's maybe some turbulence, they say, put the mask on yourself first and then help your child. It's kind of akin to that. It's, make sure you're healthy, that you're getting your sleep, that you're eating. If you exercise and you enjoy that, do that. If you're a religious person, just continue with that, because you need to be strong to be able to be there for your children. Because in truth, divorce and separation is not necessarily a bad thing. It's something that happens. In fact, over 50% of our society, children are living in homes with one parent. So sometimes it's a lot better when two warring parents do not live in the same home. But it's just a matter of really trying to take care of yourself, get yourself educated, read books on this subject, talk to friends you can trust, maybe seek counseling, get educated, just like you would get educated on anything else. If you were diagnosed with an illness, you would say, hey, I don't know about this, but I want to learn about it. I want to go to professionals to help me. I want to read. I want to research.
Those are fabulous points. And I'm thinking for anyone out there who's stressed and thinking, oh, I have to worry about my kids first. You can't help your kids if you're hot and sick and nervous as all heck. You have to first help yourself. And that's interesting because I came from a background that was not the most positive, and both parents stayed together for a long time. And you often hear parents say, well, we're doing it for the kids. We're going to stay together until they go off to college. And if you are both so miserable and you think you're hiding it from the kids, you're not. Kids really are perceptive, and they pick up on negative energy and that you're just not happy. And so sometimes, like when my parents separated, I was so upset when I first heard about the divorce. And I said, no, I don't want them to get divorced.
Mhm.
But let me tell you, 6 months after them separating, it felt like such a weight had been lifted that I didn't even know existed.
I think that's such a good point. I mean, everything that you're saying, basically, even when you knew it wasn't feeling good with your
Mhm.
parents fighting, it still felt crushing to hear that your parents are getting a divorce. And even today, when it's so common, people still kind of cling to, well, my family is only going to be good if it's like two parents living in the same house. But in reality, it's not really so. And I agree. A lot of people say, well, I'll wait till the kids go to college or this and that. It's just such an individual decision. It's great to bring in, say, a mediator to help, sometimes to help parents talk through these issues with each other, because sometimes just talking directly with each other when your kind of senses are heightened and your feelings are very extreme, it's difficult.
Mm.
It is interesting what you say too, that at first you felt, so upset, but then you kind of realize, hey, this is a better situation.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know the
Mhm.
grass could be greener until you actually reach that spot. And then
Mhm.
you're like, wow, this is much nicer actually. No fighting, no, or even if there's no fighting, they kept it to themselves. They're both parents were really good at being quiet about it, but fighting behind closed doors.
Mhm.
Again, you can feel the energy as children that things are not right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, you're so right. I mean, kids are, they say are like sponges, but it's really true. They know everything. So that's why we as parents just have to really try to be the best role model that we can be. And, when we make mistakes, we can speak to the kids and say, I'm sorry for the way I behaved, and just keep the dialogue open as you go through, because what we're trying to protect is the process, basically. How do you get from A to B? You just don't want to lose all your money or have such emotional scars. You want to try to say, hey, we got through this in an okay manner. There were some bumps, but here we are.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that there are other options besides just going to a high-priced attorney. And a lot of people think that you have to go straight to litigation, to go into a courtroom. And oh my, if you want, if you want to get in a whole bunch of debt, that's the way to do it. But there are other options, and FamilyKind, along with our wonderful friend Jennifer Safian.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is fabulous. And before I met Jennifer, I did not even know that mediation existed as an option. And it's such an awesome option to have someone there that is on both sides, that will help you if you can't communicate with each other. Like Jennifer said when she came on a year and a half or 2 years ago, that if they can't talk to each other, they talk to me, and then I relay the message. And she had them put a picture of the children in front of each parent so that their focus could be the children and not each other and the anger they have for each other.
Yes, that's so right. Jennifer Safian is on our team, and we have about, I can't believe this, but 70 different team members, mostly all volunteer, trying to make this happen for families. And what Jennifer does specifically as a mediator, and what the other mediators do, is so important, but not recognized.
Yeah.
And that is right, as you said it, Christina. It's really trying to focus parents on the kids, because that is what they really care about. And what mediation does is just trying to shift people from positions. Like sometimes in court, we're forced into position. We say, I want this or I want that. And you show why you want it. But a trained mediator, is a facilitator. So what they try to do is, you're right, they're totally neutral, but try to get down to people's interests. Well, what is most important to you and to your kids? And sometimes that's different than a position. Like someone might say, well, I want every single weekend. And what happens is, when you dig down deep through skilled facilitation, you find out they don't really want every weekend, but they want to make sure that their child goes to the same church the child's been going to. But there are church services on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So, okay, so the interest is really having the child continue at the church, not necessarily having the child the whole weekend. And that's when you drill down deep, there's a lot more agreement among the parents to say, hey, okay, well, I want our child to go to that service too. So let's see how we can work it out so I can get some weekend time as well.
That's a good point. And another guest of ours, Cindy Bettina, earlier in the month had mentioned that another thing that happens is when it goes to the actual court system, at that point, the judge is hearing very small points on both sides, and both sides are trying to push hard for just their client to be the best client. Oh, you want this client to get all the rights or to get the parenting. And so it's going to try to make the other side look not so good. And so besides spending a whole heck of a lot of money, you're going to conceivably put yourself in a bad position in the court system, and it's not going to be good for anyone, not for the kids, not for the ex, and not for yourself.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right, and that's a point well made. That look, there is a role for the courts, and the courts are important, and the judges and referees really try to do the best that they can, but they are strangers to this family. They're not the best expert, so they have to hear, and like sometimes it's just bits and pieces and things that might there's just not much time in the court, whereas parents are really their best experts on their family. So if you could have someone working with them to kind of navigate that is an excellent option.
Yeah, I totally agree. So what's on the horizon for FamilyKind coming up?
Well, we have two missions, basically to provide the high quality services that we provide, but it's really also to change the culture on how people see divorce and separation. So I guess what's on the horizon is to continue programming and outreach to make sure that people know that they're not alone and that there are options out there.
Yes, that's awesome. Are there upcoming workshops in particular that people can get involved in? Yeah.
Yes. So what we try to do, programming for our clients, and we try to do professional programming also to make sure that we help kind of provide training so the professionals can be top of their game. So if you take a look at our website, which is FamilyKind.org, you'll see we have an excellent trainer, Dr. Fiddler, coming down from Toronto and joining on a panel with Judge Pearl and Kate Hannibal on interviewing children. We have an all judges panel coming up in April. We have our step family workshop later this month. So just take a look at the website and you can see different things that are going on.
That's great. What I noticed when I looked at your workshops last year, because a good friend of mine was thinking about going through divorce. She's kind of on the cusp still. But I was really intrigued that you didn't just have like psychologists or mediators, but you actually had judges and attorneys that people could start to talk to and find out information from before they even take the road of putting down money and booking an appointment, because it's really scary. The idea of, oh my gosh, what is this going to cost? What's going to be involved? You can talk to experts on the FamilyKind panel and find out for real what's it going to be like, the whole process.
Yes, that's exactly right. And thank you for bringing that up. I hope it was helpful to your friend as well.
Yeah, she's still on the cusp, but hopefully that she joins the services and stuff. It'll help her make a final decision. But I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom on this very important topic, because I know a lot of people are struggling with it and going through either separation, divorce, or post-divorce or separation. And everyone, please go check out FamilyKind.org today. And before we head on out, is there any last words, Lesley, that you'd like to leave with our audience?
I would just like to say, you know what, it's very difficult when you're going through it, but when you come out the other side, you know, life goes on in a great way for you and your families. And I just want to thank you, Christina, for the hard work that you do in bringing important issues to the public. And it's just so wonderful getting to know you. So I want to thank you.
Aw. Thank you, Lesley. It's been such a blessing meeting you and Jennifer and all the wonderful people that come on Savvy. Thank you so much for coming to Savvy Central Radio today.
Okay, thank you.
Savvy Central Radio is proud to present a live interactive series featuring a new mix to business networking and interviews. Our first event will take place Saturday, April 18th from 12 noon to 3 p.m. You'll not want to miss our first guest, Bryn Johnson. Our interview question portion of the event will be concluded by a business networking gathering of light fare and cocktails, where you'll be able to meet new and exciting like-minded business owners like yourself. To find out more, book your free ticket today at bit.ly/savvy event. That's bit.ly/savvy event.